Broadcasting from our subterranean studios in beautiful Paradise Valley, Pennsylvania, it's Business and Brain Tumor Talk, a unique show with topics to educate, inspire, and implement. Without further ado, here's your host, Rick Franzo.
Thank you, Amanda, and welcome to Business and Brain Tumor Talk. I'm your host, Rick Franzo. Everybody's in for a treat today. This has been a long time in the making. I was in radio for quite a while, but not even a fraction as long as this gentleman. I'd like to introduce Rod Bauman. At one time, he was my program director or PD at a rock station, and he has so many stories and tales of radio to tell, and just a really great guy. So thank you so much for being here today with us, Rod.
Rick, thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here, and thanks for the invite. I just hope I don't bore everybody, but I'll try.
That's my job, okay? You leave the boring everybody to me, okay?
Yeah.
That's why I have you here. We got to change it up a little bit.
Glad to be here.
So let's just begin at the beginning. Like a little bit of your background, where are you originally from? Tell me about your family and tell all of us about how it is that you got into radio.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, down in Bucks County. I have one brother, Terry, and went to Quakertown High School, played a little football, ran track one year, it's a nice town, very nice town. Had a lot of friends and did well, but radio is what I really wanted to do when I was younger. I thought about radio, but I never thought I could do it, or didn't know if I could do it. And as luck would have it, when I was a sophomore in high school, in the Sunday paper, uh, uh, there was a magazine called Parade. Okay, Parade magazine. In there was one of those annoying cards that would fall out and you usually threw away. This one was for Career Academy School of Broadcasting. Oh, okay. So I filled the thing out, put it in the mail, and didn't even know if it would make it. I mean, it's a little card, I didn't think it would make it. A few weeks later, I get a call. Are you serious? Do you really want to do this? And they asked me a bunch of questions. I said, yeah, but I'm not going to graduate for a few more years. And they said, okay, tell you what, we'll put your, name in the file, and we'll call you back at the beginning of your senior year, see if you want to do it. Career Academy School of Broadcasting. I'll be darned, in September of my senior year, they called me. We set up a meeting, and guy came out to the house, talked to my parents. We talked. Yeah, I want to do it. Yeah, I think he's a good candidate. Worked out the financing. And the end of my senior year of high school, graduated in June. And in July, I went to the Career Academy School of Broadcasting down in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And learned my radio. Cut my chops down there. Learned all about it. They had you doing radio and TV, even though I wanted nothing to do with TV. So that's where it started. That's it. It was a great experience. Good teachers. Both were guys. One guy had worked in Washington radio. We got to do a little intern work at a couple of stations down there, and for me, it was a good experience. I'm not sure how many guys actually got into radio, but I know me and I know at least two people got in from there. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
How long was the courses? How long was your education like to get into that?
About 5 months. Although, truth be told, don't tell my parents. Well, yeah, they know. I left a week early because I started to make phone calls and I started to try and get jobs. I started. In fact, I was looking at a piece of paper that I had from back then. Like I have this box where I have all my radio stuff, going back to that time when I wanted to get in. And I found sheets where radio stations I called. Yeah, this guy sent a tape. This guy I haven't heard from. But what happened is I started to, look for jobs. In fact, my graduation date from school, I actually saw I had a phone call that I made from home that day, and I set up an interview with a place out in Western Pennsylvania on that day instead. But they sent me my diploma, and they said, "Hey, you were great," and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was in a hurry. So.
what just as context, what was the decade that this happened
It's
without
1972.
72?
1972. I
Wow.
think I got that card. I sent that card in the spring of 19. No, couldn't have been 1970. I think. Yeah, sophomore. 69, 70 junior, 70, 71, 71, 72. So, yeah. So I sent that card in. They called me, and 2 years later, whatever, they came to see me.
That's incredible. I had
Yeah.
no idea about that with you. I
Uh,
didn't even know that there were schools that you could go to specifically for radio and television and to get certified. Did you have to get licensed through the FCC?
I had to get my third class FCC license. Back then, you had to have one to be on the air. And studied, and they gave you the handbook. They gave you everything you needed to be successful and to learn about it, from a school standpoint, from an educational standpoint. So what I did, I actually took the buses down to the FCC headquarters in Washington D.C. and went in there on the day they had the were given the test, and yeah, I passed. Took the buses down, and one of the other guys who already had his license came with me, and yeah, it pretty involved. It was pretty involved, but you know, I was ready. I got it. And of course, back in the day, you had to have, like I said, third class to be on the air, and that license had to be posted in the studio. Yeah,
I remember those days.
yeah.
Do you still have your license? I have mine.
I do have one. I do have one. They every 5 years, I think they got updated, and they used to be, like a certificate size, like But
Right.
the last one I got was like a credit card
Like
size.
a credit card. That's the
Like
one
a
that I
credit, like that. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
I found one in my Rod's radio box. That was one of the last of the big ones, and then we had the smaller ones. We had a post, or you'd make a copy of it and post it in the studio or whatever. But yeah, that's
So Rod's radio box. I like that. So we'll have to do another show where it'll be like Pandora's box, but we'll open up Rod's radio box and
it's
do
amazing
that.
what's in there. I have magazines and I had old Rolling Stones in there that had radio stories in it. Back when Rolling Stone was a newspaper, not a
Yeah,
magazine.
I
And
remember that.
yeah, that's, like I said, I had lists of stations I was calling. I had all these kind of notes, and I still had this stuff. And, it was pretty amazing. When I finally broke that open, and wherever I moved, it came with me. So
So it's 1972. You're
1972.
you're now certified. You've got your FCC license, third class license. Where do we go from there, Rod?
I went to a number of interviews, but the job I got was weekends down at WSLT FM in Ocean City, New Jersey. And I used to go to Ocean City all the time in the summer and say, hey, that's cool. But the station was an FM, what was called a beautiful music station, easy listening station back then, instrumentals, and I never forget the program that said, well, we said to me, she goes, oh, we do play two vocals an hour. And you got to understand, I'm a long haired guy with a beard. I want to rock, but this is all I get. So, okay, in fact, I went down there, a 3 hour drive down there for what I thought was an interview. She hired me on the spot, and then I'm training. And I'm training, and but yeah, we play two instrumental. We play the Carpenters. We play this. Cool, and that's what I did. I got the weekend job. Funny story. My brother went down with me. I told him, yeah, just stay in the car. I'll be back in a half hour, an hour. I was out there in the car for 2 hours, sleeping on the back seat. I mean, sorry, Terry, but while like I said, I went from the interview to I had a job, and it was a weekend job. It was kind of interesting because we were announcers. We did the news and a few other little announcements. And my shift was Saturday morning, 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. Then I'm off the air until 1 a.m. on Sunday and 9 a.m. on Sunday, 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sunday. So I had time to kill down there. And what I used to do, they had the FM, which I was on, was 24 hours. The AM station was a daytimer. Come on the air when the sun goes up and when the sun goes down. So, and I started during the wintertime. So, I would, we were on Ninth and Asbury, I think, at the time. So I had pizza place here. I get something to eat, but I'm there, you know, I ended up sleeping on the AM control room floor while they were off the air in between my shifts. And then later on, I got to know one of the afternoon guys on the AM, and he let me come over to his place. But yeah, it was cold in there. They turned the heat off, and but yeah, that was it. That's where it started, and I didn't stay there real long, because I'm driving like 3.5 hours from Quakertown, Bucks County. And, the money was okay. And then there was some talk about, hey, why don't you hang around and do a 4-hour AM shift? Really? After not barely sleeping between the two shifts I had. I mean, the good thing about it was beautiful music and everything, it was an automated station as far as all the music was concerned. So the long shift, it was a long shift, but you weren't queuing up. You weren't putting records on. You weren't playing the tapes. Everything was pre-programmed. You had these like 12-inch reels on this big machine, and you had to change them. You had to change them, and that was another story sometimes. And then you had a big like carousel where all the cartridge tapes for the commercials were, and this thing just ran. It was a beast, and it ran, by itself, and you just had to make sure you were there to change everything. When it's time for you to talk, you hit the live button and put it in auto. So when the event that was playing stopped, you came in and did the news or whatever you had to do, and then you started up again, just like the computers we are now, we were using, now, you know. But that's what it was, and that's what I did. I only stayed there like 4 or 5 months because of the driving, and I took a full-time job at a furniture mill in Quakertown, and to make money, I had to make more money than I was doing on the weekend, and I wasn't, I was doing interviews otherwise, but not getting any job offers. I did have a job offer in Carbondale, but I really didn't want to go there. In fact, the
Mm.
woman there was begging me to come up there. I said, it's too cold up there. I'm not going there. What did I know? I'm in the Poconos now. But, damn, I'm down in, living in Bucks County. But what I did is I ended up leaving that station. And it was probably, I was what, 72 into 73, early 73. The great part about it, I will say, though, I was down at the Jersey Shore winter, fall, winter into spring. And having been down there only in the summertime, you get a different feel. Half the town is closed. You go up on the boardwalk, and a couple of things were open, and they had the Christmas lights. So every time I would play, Bruce Springsteen's Santa Claus, it's coming to town, it kind of
Right.
reminded me, Clarence playing the saxophone, and that kind of, it would remind me of those days, and it was neat. I had my passion. I had
So,
my love. I found it, when I was a sophomore in high school, I realized I wasn't playing pro football, so I might as well find something else. And radio, came to the forefront. So, yeah.
so
So
that's
that's where that job ended. And I worked in the furniture mill, for a while.
So the furniture mill, right? This is so great. It's like a trip back in time. So you were talking about a couple things that don't exist right now, like the carts, right? Yeah, the cart machine and the carousel, reel to
Yeah.
reels, which I remember. The carts I remember, and I worked in a AM station that was dawn to dusk, right? And that was the
Yeah.
licensure that they had. So these are things that they really don't exist so much anymore. I don't know if the
Yeah.
AM on the dust does, but this is great. So you took us to 73. What's next?
73. In the late summer of 73, my dad showed me this ad in probably the morning call newspaper about the station they're putting on the air in Quakertown, New Jersey. It's going to be an oldies station, which is kind of like a hot new format, set up similar to the way CBS FM in New York was set up in the early 70s and CAU FM in Philly. Um, and the plan was to play the hits from the late 50s until the early 70s, up to that point, 60s covered. And I said, okay, and so I found the phone number and I called them and sent them a tape. And next thing you know, they called me and I went for an interview and I got hired. And one of the things that helped me this station was also starting out automated. Okay, the music on tape, carts and carousels, same thing, different format. Okay, my job was just to read news on the weekend, so my automation experience helped me get the job. Oh, you got, oh yeah, but the one the first one was kind of a big deal, a beast. This one was, it was smaller, but did the same thing. You had the cart carousel and you had the tapes. And I started working Saturday night, 10 p.m. until 6 a.m.
Mhm.
And did that part time for a while. And all I did in the beginning was read the news at the top of the hour, or 5 of the hour. That's all I did. Changed the tapes, changed the carts, and did that whole thing. Eventually they let me go live from 10 until 2. So, there we go. So I got that going for me. And it was part time. I did that for a while. Um, and then I got in there full time. I got in full time in 75, I think it was. It was 75, in like February 75. And the same shift, the night shift, 6 days a week. I was working back then, we worked 6 days a week. Um, and it was, again, 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. at night until, 6 a.m. in the morning. And I would, and I did live. I did, I think, 10 to 2. I was doing live. I said, hey, can I have another hour? Okay. They gave me 10 to 3. They figured nobody's listening at 3 in the morning anyway.
Right.
But it was, I liked the format. It still wasn't rock, and back then with that oldies format, we also played what we called future golds, which were like 3 or 4 an hour of the current hits. And every now and then I would bring an album cut in and play it. Um, Evil Woman, the album version. Okay, we're playing Evil Woman. Well, if I put the album version, change it up at night. Never got in trouble for it, but I've always been a bit of a nonconformist, and I still, I want to rock. Um,
Hmm.
and I remember the program director told me one time he and the general manager are driving somewhere. General manager goes to TJ and goes, Rod plays album cuts at night sometimes, doesn't he? And he's sitting there thinking, oh, here it comes. And he said, yeah. And he goes, okay. And he didn't say anything. So I got away with it. And if we were playing an older song and I could find the longer version somewhere in the library, it was a hit, I put in the longer version, and I got away with it. It was at night, and I don't know. But, it was
That's so
fun.
fun.
It was
That,
fun. It
that
was, it was
sounds
like I
great.
got to what I wanted to do. I got to do what I did a lot of times and kind of stretch the envelope a little bit, but it was fun. It was a good format. Again, it's music. A lot of the '50s stuff. I had no idea who Matt Monroe was and some of these other people, but
Right.
but it was fun. It was fun, and I'm doing radio, and that's the only place you got a bomb threat too. You want to hear a story? I mean,
Yeah.
I was filling in one time on a Saturday night, um, because what happened, I was doing, full time Monday through Friday, and I do a little time on Saturday morning, after my automated time to get in my extra day. But one time I'm filling it overnight. It was, I don't know what the shift was. It was Saturday into Sunday. And about 1:30 in the morning, I get this call on the station listener line saying, buddy, you don't want to be there at 2 o'clock. There's a bomb in that building that's going to go off. I said, yeah, right, sure. I think, people call up with crap all the time. And, okay, fine. You know, and hang up. And then a couple of, I don't know, 10 minutes later, um, he said it's going to go off at 2 o'clock. I was playing the song How Long by Ace. It's got a long 23
Yeah.
second intro. And I'm talking, and then, oh, by the way, somebody just called up and said, there's a bomb going to blow up in this building. And in this building at 2 o'clock this morning. So if I'm not here, you know what happened, right? But I think he's probably a crackpot. Here's Ace. How long? Boom. And no sooner than I shut the mic off, the guy gets on and goes, buddy, at 2 o'clock, you're not going to be laughing. You're going to be dead. Oh, jeez. Okay. Still half taking it seriously. So I figured, okay, maybe I should call the cops. So I called the local police. Guy comes up, looks around, didn't find anything. Looked like he didn't want to be there. Comes walking around and sits in the chair in the studio. And then I had to, again, this is, well, leading up to 2 o'clock, 5 minutes before two, I would do the newscast. And I'm doing the newscast and I'm looking at the time and I hit the thing to hit the ID and get back to the automation. Nothing happened. And so nothing happened, but I got the bomb scare. The cop stood up and walked out. Maybe there's a delay or something, but no, he's gone, but that's my bomb scare story.
He probably didn't have too much training for bomb scares at that time.
Well,
So
and the funny part is too, it was, I was filling in on that shift, and I didn't normally do it at that point. At that point, I was on during the week, and I don't know, it was an interesting story to tell in later life.
that one's unique. I didn't know anything about that. So
Yeah.
where did you go after that station in Blairstown?
Well, when WR&J was going on the air, I went there in Hackettstown. I went to Blairstown to Hackettstown, more money, and I think eventually I had gotten towards the end of my time at FMV. I was doing the 5 to 10 evening shifts, so I had moved, and I got the job there. We're doing the afternoon drive, and again, this was a brand new station, and literally we started, working there in July, the end of July in '76, and we were waiting for the FCC to give the approval. We had the equipment. We were playing radio in the studio. We were every now and then we'd go on the air for 5, like 10 seconds, or whatever. We were allowed to do that just to make sure everything was working. Maybe a minute. And finally, the end of August 26th, we went on the air, and that was fun. It was again a fun job. It was the only place the first place I worked where you couldn't smoke in the building.
Ooh,
You had to go outside. Yeah. And I smoked. I smoked like a chimney back then. There was one point, I think, when I was doing overnights at FMV, I was smoking during that time for about 2 years. I was smoking like 2.5 packs a day.
Oh my
And
God.
it was nasty. You want to talk about health, but the manager there, the owner felt, he didn't want it in the building, didn't want it. That's fine. You know, Went out on the front porch or the back deck and he put speakers up above the porch in the bathroom everywhere so you could hear what was going on. So I would go out there during a network newscast while I was on the air. And, if I put on Do You Think I'm Sexy at the end of that, ran in, put that on, I'd have a whole, 10 minutes. I could smoke two.
That's such great stuff, right? When there was, you wanted a break or you had to go to the restroom or you wanted to grab something to eat, you put on we're going to listen to, side A of whatever album. You put on like a
Yeah.
real long one, like
Jonathan
Inagata
Layla or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
Inagata Devita, maybe Paradise by the Dashboard Light, things that are like,
American Pie was a classic.
American Pie, yeah,
Don
Dr.
McLean,
Wayne,
that 8-minute version. Yeah.
yeah, that's a big one, yeah,
Yeah.
part 1 and 2,
Hmm.
yeah,
I
that's
remember
great.
all of them. You do too. I mean, it was like that's your only choice. You had no option. Now you have the automation going, and you can walk away and do anything for 10 minutes, and just come back when your next break is scheduled.
It's almost like babysitting the board, so to speak, but the board is actually like a computer now. So
Yeah,
it isn't like your traditional board, right? So I mean there are
right,
still, but you pot it up and whatever, but it's more like automated where it's like computer and everything else is digitized and there isn't the card anymore. There's no turntables, there's no reel to reel, there's no
right.
cassettes,
Well,
things like that. Yeah.
the interesting thing is the way the automation is set up. It's all on tabletop, but it's basically the same principle of those old automation systems I worked on, where you got the reel to reel, but it's run the same way. It's the same principle. Now it's all on hard drive, and yeah, I've gone from playing vinyl to playing tapes, music on tapes, to playing, playing CDs, and now, hard drive in the last 20 years or so, 30, yeah, 20, good 20 years, 30 years maybe.
And now albums are making a resurgence again. What's old is now new, just like everything. And
Hmm.
so that's just incredible. So when did you start coming back into Pennsylvania, raising your family, and uh,
Um,
doing all the radio like in this area? Because you have
yeah.
quite the footprint in this
Well, let
area.
me tell you, my at RN, no, at FMV, before I went to RNJ, that spring, they ran a Valentine's Day contest. This is where my family starts. They ran a Valentine's Day contest, and it was called the Kissable Lips Contest. Listeners had to put, the women had to put a imprint of their lips, with lipstick on a card, send it in, say who their favorite DJ is, and da 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 da. Okay, and then we went out to dinner with them, and they won prizes and stuff. Um, and I was in my early 20s, and I went out with a 40 or some woman. Okay, she was nice, and she says, "I think I have somebody for you, and somebody you might want to, get to meet." Okay, fine. I was doing okay on my own, but she, and we got together. Nice girl, we dated for a little bit, but then I met her friend, you know, and her friend broke up with her boyfriend, and me and the girl I was seeing, it kind of, it really wasn't going anywhere. So we broke up. So we both broke up, and I think, well, why don't I call the friend? So I called her friend. Her friend, we started dating. She became my wife, and that's where the family started. So it was, from the contest winner to somebody she works with, I should see, to meeting, going out with my wife. Because the girl I was dating and her friend and her boyfriend, we used to go out together. And it was two couples. I mean, we were remember going to Mother's in Wayne, New Jersey, a dance club out there, other places we would go together, and then, our relationships just went by the wayside. And it's like, hey, how you doing? I called her up, and well, and that's
That's how
where it
the
started.
family started. That's how the Bauman, tribe started. That's
Yeah,
incredible. That is so great. So that was the beginnings of your family and Matt and everybody. So that's just incredible. And so as we're getting towards the now part, you spent a lot of time here in radio
yeah.
in this area.
Well, long story short, after a few other little stops in between, I ended up at a radio, okay, and we went to and we moved down to Quakertown. You
Hmm.
know, I left radio and I tried to get a real job, and I was working down there, and Matt had been born, was born in Hackettstown, and we went down there, and I worked in a place that made, it was a manufacturing place, and I worked in the stock room, and was finally making good money, and next son was born, and then I eventually got back into radio, and ended up moving up into the Poconos, and was working at WFMV, and was working there, and that's how we got in the Poconos, moving there in Stroudsburg.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, we forgot the PMR thing.
We
You and
yeah,
I worked at WPMR.
we
Should we
did. You
talk
were
about
my
that?
program director. I did a Sunday show. That was it.
Yeah.
Was my solace was doing, and I was at radio at that time and working a real job. And
Yeah.
you never let that kind of go, that radio. So as my time, that's Rick's time with two kids and a wife, and
Yeah.
just the chaos and the hecticness of the world from like 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whatever it was.
Mhm.
I had like a 4 hour, 5 hour block where I did on Sundays,
Yeah.
rock. And You were the program director. It
And
was
I
good
was the
stuff.
one who was on. I was the one who was on the air before you. That's right. It was after VPO. That's when I went to PMR. It's kind of getting
Right.
fuzzy. Yeah, and we again we were working 6 days a week on the air. You know, and and what would happen? I mean, during the week you worked a regular like close to an 8 hour day. You know, you were on the air and then you did commercial production or whatever duties you had. And then you just came in on the weekend as full timer and did your air shift. Well, it was 6 days a week. My shift was 10 to 3 or 10 to 2, whatever it was, 10 to 2, Sunday through Friday. So Sunday, I would do the midday and you would come on. I think it was
Yeah,
two
it was
o'clock
like
in the afternoon.
2 to 6 or something. It was
Yeah.
4 hours. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And that's when I got to know you, and we would shoot the crap. I'd get you caught up on what's going on, and stuff. Yeah,
It's such great times. I worked with so many local radio legends. George Roberts was in the AM. He was the PD, and his parents owned the station. Let's see, Sue Sherry. We
yes,
worked with her. Dan LaRose. Guns N' Roses. So we worked.
oh
But you work with so many other people, but I
yeah,
just am so just blown away that I work with so many notable jocks. It's so fun,
and
right?
PMR for a small market radio station did a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
would say.
we gave away tickets to a lot of different places, a lot of concerts. We ran bus trips
Yep.
to concerts. In fact, I think it might have been Matt's first concert ever was Pink Floyd at Veterans Stadium, where he came along in the bus with me. Pink Floyd at Veterans Stadium in Philly. I did a couple of Rolling Stones bus trips. Um, remember Club Kicks in Broadheadsville?
There was, yeah,
In
KIX.
Regency Plaza. The Regency Plaza, it's right across where Weiss is now. That little, I think it's Regent, and kind of like where the building is, like in an L. Club Kicks was in there, and they had a disco place, place upstairs, and downstairs would be the rock room. And the
Wow.
guys, us from PMR, we would do a DJ shift like twice a month at night. And basically, our job, the guy upstairs was, making sure that people are dancing. But downstairs, we had to fill the void in between the different, bands, band shifts, and that's what we did, and that's where I got to meet Edgar Winter in there too.
That's so cool.
That was cool.
I
That
remember you
was
said that brought it back. Yeah, Club
remember,
Kicks. Yeah, there's so
yeah,
many of those places. Club Kicks. There was the House of Web in Troxville where the
uh-huh.
Hooters would play. They did all kinds of stuff. But I think you're right. They had the bus trips. Matt was, I've seen Floyd a couple times. I saw them in Philly, but
Yeah,
a couple times at JFK and at the Vet. But yeah, he was saying about how you had brought him to his first concert, which was Pink
yeah.
Floyd. So, dad of the century, because
Well,
that's
well,
that's
well,
legit.
let me tell you, that is still probably my favorite concert, and I've seen a number of them because it was just amazing to see the performance and we were out there on the field. I'm not exactly sure, maybe around second base,
Wow.
and just the way the lights were, the way that spinning off the stadium top, and it was pretty amazing. This being outdoors and everything. And but yeah, we did a lot of good stuff. It was a fun time.
That's really cool. As we wrap up, is there anything that really sticks out to you? This was the path that you took. You're
Uh,
retired now, but I'm trying to bring you out to do more podcasts. But I don't know. But uh, this was a lot of fun. Is there any words that you want to give to anybody that would be looking to make a career in radio or to mobile DJ or just be that
I don't,
kind of a person?
well, I don't care what you do, but the real thing I had is I found my passion. I found my passion where I could do whatever I had to do to get the job done. And some people find are athletes, and they can do it. Or maybe they're good at something. Maybe they're good at entertaining. Maybe they're good at singing. Or your passion could be anything. But I found my passion, and it it really was something. I don't know. I could never find another job that fed me the way this did. That's what it did for me. And but what I say is just find something you like to do and do it until you can't do it anymore. Understand that there's going to be BS along the way. And this was told to me by somebody who had some experience years ago. There's going to be BS along the way. Don't let the BS get in the way of your dreams or your goals. Understand it's going to be there, but it's how you deal with it is going to determine on how you go forward. And so that's why I say don't let the BS get in the way. And remember, nothing worth doing is easy. And radio was never, I found my home, but it was never really easy. I mean, easier than some things, but there's a lot of work. People don't understand how much work goes into, just doing an airship, programming a radio station, putting everything together. And back in the day when I was starting out, and you remember too, I mean, we played vinyl, we played the records, so you had to get the records ready. You had the commercials, and you would play them on a cart. They would go on the machine, and you would play them individually. You would play so you had to be disciplined, and you had to, and some people couldn't handle that. Me, it was like, I'm going to do a perfect show today. Twice I came close, but I never really did. But that was the goal. Every day my goal was to be better than yesterday. So I'm just saying, find something you like. Understand there are going to be disappointments along the way. How you deal with those disappointments is going to determine how you go moving forward. And nothing worth doing is ever easy, really.
That is just fantastic words to conclude this amazing time. Oh my gosh, it's almost like 40 minutes we've been doing this.
Oh,
We
you're gonna
could
have to
be
cover a
doing
lot
it
of crap.
for, I don't think we're gonna have to edit anything out. I don't think that you know what, this could have gone on for another 2 hours. And so
Oh yeah,
I'd really love for you to be my guest again, and we'll delve into some other things that
yeah.
we're really. But we want Rod's radio box, right? Pandora's box, Rod's box
Oh
of
yeah.
radio treasures and memories. That would be great. It's beyond passion. I hear such it was your calling, I think, right? And
Mhm.
so it's not
Yeah.
easy, but it sure as heck is a lot of fun, right?
Like I told you, there's a couple of times I did try and get a quote unquote a real job. It just never worked out. I was always drawn back. Somebody was calling me to fill in, or and I would turn them down as long as I could. But it came to a point when I just knew I had to do it again. And I had to get back into it. And with all the changes that went, like we said, just going from vinyl to digital and everything else that went with it, you roll with the changes. You roll with it, and you find a way to make the changes work for you. And that's all I ever did, because I loved what it did. But I will say this: by the time I did retire in the last couple of years, it was like I was ready. I was done. I was burnt out. But not to the point where I couldn't do my job. But it was still a point where, okay, it's time to move on. And time to take it easy and stop pushing yourself so hard, which I never had a problem doing. You know.
It's the next chapter of your life, and
Mhm.
I know you're enjoying it. Local radio legend, not just for the Poconos, but for all over this, area, Jersey, Pennsylvania, beyond, wherever. What a great pleasure it was to have you on this show, Rod. Thank you so much for being here, and this was great. Thank you.
And I thank you. I really appreciate the time. And like I told you before, I don't talk about myself too much. I never like to. And anytime I did, I know I never felt comfortable. But this was good, and I got to kind of recap a lot of my life that was there, but I never talked about really. But thank you. I really enjoyed this, and And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
This was, you're welcome. This was a pleasure. Rod Bauman, everybody, radio legend and just a really great guy. Thank you so much for joining us here on Business and Brain Tumor Talk. I'm your host, Rick Franzo. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time, and stay gold.